5-speed transmissions, they're a deal breaker for a lot of people. And for most of the motorcycle industry, this isn't a problem. Just about everything has a 6-speed today. This Papio has a 6-speed. For some reason, particularly with dual sports, there still seems to be a number of bikes rocking 5-speed transmissions. And honestly, a lot of this came up recently when I got the new DRZ.
DRZ.
I was critical before I got it. I was critical when it showed up. I was annoyed because it was just sort of a facelift bike, I felt like. And after having it for about a month, I realized they actually did a lot more to it than I thought they did. It's still, yes, based on the same core, and I do wish they had done more, and I wish they had given us a 6-speed, but the lack of 6-speed, to be quite honest with you, is a slight annoyance, but is nowhere near a deal breaker for me. In fact, it really ranked down low on the list of complaints I had of the bike by the end of owning it. There's a lot of you that don't agree with that. There's a lot of you, I've seen the comments, like, just no way. It's a 5-speed, forget it. Not a 5-speed. I question then to you is, why do we think we need a 6-speed? What are we gaining from having a 6-speed? And is that assumption correct? I actually asked a bunch of you about this a while back on Instagram. None of y'all answered the question the right way. But that's okay, I know what the answer is. Why do we want a 6-speed transmission? Because it lowers the RPMs on the highway. That's basically it. That's what people actually care about. Even there are some other benefits you would get from having a 6-speed over a 5-speed. That's the thing that everyone seems to actually give about. So if Suzuki had just added a 6-speed transmission, would the DRZ suddenly become this highway killing machine? I don't know, let's talk about that. By the way, I know we just did a garage talking video about chains and I should have cleaned my chain, and I hate to do back-to-back ones like that. I normally like to break them up and do riding videos. Some of you know, have been following me for a long time. I've got kind of a bad back. When I was 19 years old, a commercial bus decided to rear end me and my buddy in his CJ7 and gift me with having a bad back for the rest of my life. And sometimes it acts up. So it's been pretty bad the last month. Been slow getting videos out. So I apologize for that and apologize for another video like this, but just be patient with me. The best thing for me to do when I feel like this is to take it easy and sometimes do this thing I'm doing right here. As long as I'm careful and keep doing a bit of that, things will go back to normal. Or I'll go get surgery in my back and it'll be months and months of recovery. Also, big thanks to those of you who are on Patreon or YouTube members. You guys are making this whole thing possible. This is a fan-supported channel. If you would like to be a part of that community, I would love to have you. We have a Discord link to that, and you can come and chat with me, play video games with me, and call me a dumbass. You can also call me. I don't know how basic we need to go with this. First of all, can we understand that an engine makes a power band? The engine can only spin so fast. They sort of use the gears to help, you know, climb up a mountain of speed. We need gears, right? We understand we need gears. Before we talk about sort of 6 speeds and 5 speeds, let's actually talk about the overall spread of the transmission. This is kind of a weird way to represent this because I was gonna write down actually a bunch of numbers of the different bikes, but then when you throw final drive in, it kind of throws that all off and kind of makes it hard to understand this. And if I write down all these numbers, are they even gonna mean anything to you guys anyway? I don't know. Let's say that this would be your top gear, whether it's 5th or 6th gear, and this is your lowest gear, your 1st gear. This is kind of like your spread, right? I don't know, this is kind of, is this a way to visualize it that makes sense? This is like your spread. If I add an extra gear in here, right? Like let's pretend this is the DRZ and this is its 1st gear and its 5th gear, and I add an extra gear and it's just somewhere in here, but this gear and this gear internally remain the same. It still's helpful, and we're gonna talk about another thing in a second here about why that can still be helpful. But the idea of lowering RPMs on the highway kind of goes out the window. Now this spread can be moved up and down a little bit by changing the final drive. You know, take the DRZ for instance and put like a 39 tooth rear sprocket on it, a 16 front, and you'll take this whole thing and move it up. You've now achieved lower RPMs going down the highway, which may or may not actually be good. We're gonna get into that here in a minute. But you've also moved the 1st up. Now it's gonna mean worse acceleration, you know, slower takeoff, doing any kind of off-roading, any kind of technical riding, burning up with a clutch and stalling. And the thing is, you gotta understand is that not all bikes with a 6-speed have necessarily a larger spread than, let's say, the DRZ. For lowering RPMs, just having a 6th gear is not necessarily what you want. Having a spread in there that can actually let you get into that while it's not ruining acceleration, you know, by gearing it weird. This is like really important. Just because your spread is wired doesn't necessarily mean the RPMs are gonna be lower when you're going down the highway. There's a really cool website for this actually called gearcommander.com. Go check this out. you can plug different motorcycles in and it'll actually tell you what sort of RPMs you're gonna see at different gearing. It's also really cool if you wanna see about modifying it, doing a 1 down, 2 up, whatever, you know, changing its supermoto wheels. You can actually change all these variables and see how it'll affect the final drive and the RPMs. One of the things you'll find is when you plug in a bunch of these bikes like the DRZ, it's better with its 5th gear going highway speeds than a bunch of the 6-speed dual sports out there. It's also funny, by the way, you always think of bikes having like an overdrive. Almost no bike actually has an overdriven gear in it that I've seen when it actually goes through the final drive to the rear wheel. Unless you're like on, I don't know, like a Rocket 3 or something. Your car might actually have an overdrive. Like my F-150, going down the road 60, 65 miles an hour is at like 1500 RPMs. Try to make a motorcycle do that and it's not gonna go. Which kind of brings me to another thing about changing final drive to get something better out of it. Now the CRF300L, let me use that as an example, has a wider spread than the DRZ has. A lot of that comes because of its first gear is really low, which is cool. It's good. It kind of needs it. It's not a super powerful bike and it's over 300 pounds. So, you know, it's good. Have a nice, good crawly gear. But you may be tempted then to say, well, fine, let's just put a really small rear sprocket on it, take that wedge and ink it up to give ourselves a taller 6th gear and make it better on the highway. Well, hold on. CRF300L struggles in its 6th gear with a headwind. I've had times where I couldn't get the bike over like 65 miles an hour because of a bit of a headwind. The bike doesn't have the power, so just because you give it a taller gear, a lot of these bikes aren't gonna necessarily be able to use it. I think the DRZ's a good bit better than the 300L is, but still, there's probably a cap on how much we can gear it. Most of these bikes are that way. You get to bikes like the CRF450RL, KTM 500EXE, a Sherco 500, they can start to get away with that a little bit more because the power to weight ratio is just extremely like more advanced than bikes like these. You could, if we want, gear this thing a lot taller, but does that mean it's still gonna be good going down the highway? No, it's an aerodynamic piece of shit. Look at it. Now we understand that the spread's important and that just over-gearing a bike doesn't necessarily work, right? So whatever, right? Then a 6-speed doesn't matter. No, that's not necessarily true. Let me explain it to you like this. Let's say, for instance, that your first gear is down here, final gear is up here, and we need to get from here to there. We'll look at it like as if they're steps. If we have a 5-speed transmission, we have 1, 2, 3 extra steps in here. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Cool, right? But if you have a 6-speed, you can put 4 extra gears in here. This gives us easier steps to go up. And hypothetically, if we had a DRZ400, the new one, let's say it's the new one that came out, and we had the 6-speed version, and our DRZ has the same first gear and final gear, but with 1 extra gear step in there, same power, everything else, but it's a 6-speed. We drag race them in a straight line. What would win? Once it gets out of first and it's shifting, it's gonna have a little bit of a gear advantage, almost like the same as if you and your buddy were on the same bikes and you had a 2-tooth up rear sprocket. You know, you could pull them a little bit. Your acceleration is gonna be a little better because you've got a little bit better gearing. Cool. That actually is helpful. It helps also with efficiency and miles per gallon and even probably ease on the engine, right? So if a 6-speed's good, what about a 7-speed? Maybe an 8-speed? What if it was a 10-speed? What if
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gears in here?
Would that be faster than the 6-speed transmission? Okay, so at some point there's gonna be some diminishing return from just clacking gears all the time. Even if you had like a quick shifter and a blipper, that's just too much for the rider to be maintaining. Also, there's some engines that kind of like to load up and run out on their torque. I'm not really sure a good way to explain this, but some bikes, for instance, that like a little bit of short shifting. They like to be held in that load a little better. I can tell you on the racetrack, I've been out there on bikes with 5 speeds, I've been on the track with 6 speeds. My 300L required a lot more sort of shifting and finding the right gear, but compared to like the DRZ when I took it out on track, you could hold through a lot of those turns without having to worry about up and down clicking. That one comes because the bike has a good bit more power and torque, and its torque curve is better too. You know, we talked about the spread of gearing. That doesn't take into effect the spread of power. And some bikes have a very narrow power band, and that 300L kind of did. Even with all the mods we did, it was still kind of a tight band on there. Even though we increased power everywhere across the range with all the mods I did to the old 300L, you really had to work it in this tight window. And so the 6-speed on that bike kind of makes sense for that reason. It's not necessarily for trying to lower RPMs on the highway, which we discussed before, it probably wouldn't even work. Where the DRZ, with a good bit more bottom end, especially a good bit more torque, really just could roll through those turns and stay in that power. And it's smoother, it's better that way. Clacking gears through a turn is tricky. It upsets the chassis, it unloads the front sometimes, and then the rear comes, and it's so much better just to stay in a gear. Again, I'm not trying to say that we don't need 6 speeds. I think there's certain bikes, especially bikes that are getting into the margins, get things done, that they actually are very important, like this bike right here. The Papio with its little 126cc engine. One more cc. It doesn't have a ton of power. Its power ratio is pretty sad. And I know I had an old 4-speed Grom, and that thing struggled to get over 40 miles an hour. With this thing, pretty easily gets over 50. I do think a lot of that is the 6-speed. And I wish the DRZ had a 6-speed. But is it actually gonna make as big a difference as we think it's gonna make? The DRZ probably could get away with it. You know, it's not as light and powerful as something like this, but I do think it's got enough power on hand that we could get away with a little bit taller of a final gear on it. I think it's important to remember it's a dirt bike. None of these things are gonna be great cruising a bunch of highways. It's kind of funny actually that I was just thinking about it. What was the best sort of dirt bike supermoto I've ever had for doing highway speeds would have been my XR650R. That thing would only be turning about 4,500 RPMs on the highway, where a DRZ, even this thing, a lot of these bikes are over 6,000 RPMs on the highway. I mean, that thing was just cruising. It was nice and low. But you gotta keep in mind, it also redlined at like something like 8,500 RPM. This goes over 11, but that was an old carbureted kickstart only 5-speed. It made up for it with being 650. I think it really helped that it had something like 45 foot-pounds of torque. Cruising down the highway at 4,500 to 5,000 RPMs, you're in the meat of the torque band on that bike. All right, I'm getting in the comfy chair. Me back likes this one more. So let's think about this. I think there's this expectation that dual sports have and these supermotos that may just be a little unrealistic. This is a bike you're asking to go down the dirt trails with, or go to a parking lot and do crack up nooners and low speeds and play around like that, do rolling burnouts. You know, you want it to be light enough and have a low enough gearing for that. And there's a bunch of expectations we have for that. Then we want to take that same bike and then go flog it down the highway. Forget that it's only a 400 something cc engine bike. Get mad when you can't find the 6 gear it doesn't have. Every single cylinder bike I've ever ridden, you're looking for another gear. I don't care if it has a 6 gear, you want a 7th. That's a problem that doesn't go away just because we add one more gear. So if you had a Ninja 400 with a fairing on it and a 2-cylinder engine, we wouldn't be crying, oh, why is this thing so bad on the highway? No, we'd go, it's only 400 cc's. I mean, who cares, right? That's what we expect. But I give you a 1-cylinder dirt bike, shrouds that stick out the side, and you're upright, you're just the worst for aerodynamics you could possibly be. And we go, why isn't it better? And I'm one who always goes, what was the manufacturer thinking? And I change all kinds of things on bikes. But let's assume for a moment that Suzuki knew when they came out with this new DRZ that it was factory street legal. I think they knew it was going to be doing like 7 grand going down the highway, and I think they decided they were fine with that. Do I think that means you need to flog the new DRZ at 85 miles an hour down the highway every day and go, well, Jake said it's fine, Suzuki built it to do this? No, I think you're going to tear it up a lot faster doing that. I've known someone that treated an old DRZ that way and has rebuilt the engine like 5 times. But if you're just cruising for a long stretch down the highway, can you maybe we need to try to bring those down. Even the Sherco 500 here, I don't like going 80 miles an hour down the highway with it. It'll do it actually pretty easily. You're just sucking wind, it's shaking, it just sucks, okay? One of the things I will say about the new DRZ is it's pretty smooth on the highway. It was actually kind of shocking. I think the way they've balanced and harmonically balanced the engine, it's actually pretty good. You know, I've heard reports of the new 390 Supermoto and Enduro vibrate like hell going down the highway, even though it has a 6-speed, and the DRZ is considerably better. I actually do think, and I'm really not trying to sell you a DRZ. I don't work for Suzuki. I don't really care. I do think the new DRZ is actually pretty good, and there's still really not a great bike in its class to compete with it. I know you think there are. They're either too small a CC, they're too wimpy. They're the new 390 KTMs, which are just a street bike pretending to be an enduro bike, and a supermoto. They're small and weird, and the engine's revvy, and I don't think that's going to be that great of a bike. I haven't personally ridden that bike yet, so I am kind of talking out my... But just from some of the stuff I've seen other people say, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. Doesn't look impressive. Not the 300L. My 300L modded as hard as I had it. Big bore, ported head, race cams was slower than the stock DRZ. And we know the tuned stock kind of sucks on it. You're gonna say a KTM 690 compares with it? Like a whole nother big chunk more expensive. Who knows what's gonna happen with that brand going into the future. And I love KTMs. I think they're great bikes, but you know, definitely not the KLX 300. It's even slower than the CRF 300. That thing is so... bleh. You could maybe try to compare it to a CRF 450 RL, but you're kind of going to different, you know, oranges to apples. The DRZ will fall a little short of the CRF 300L in pure performance, but the CRF 300L has a ridiculous maintenance schedule compared to the DRZ. So the case use is a little different there. Yeah, I'm not trying to sell you one. I wish the price was lower, and I wish it had a 6-speed transmission. I thought that the 5-speed was going to be a bigger deal. It was until I got my hands on it and rode it and was like, wow, I kind of want to put a ECU on this thing and a pipe. Yeah, let her rip, because man, that was a good bike to ride. I also at the same time get, if we had the 6-speed transmission, it would have had to widen the whole case of the engine. It would have had to then widen in the frame and the swing arm. Like there's this whole crazy like effect that happens from doing that, and all of that means money, and we already think it costs too much. I also said, that being said, I've already seen a bunch of 25 models on dealer floors, pretty big rebates. So if you're somebody out there though who's considered that new DRZ and you don't want to get it because it has a 5-speed, I think you're wrong. I just do. I think you're wrong. What else are you gonna get? One, and it's not that big a deal. One of the guys in our Discord, BadFish, he's also a personality out there. For some reason, he sent me a box a while back. He said he found some gnomes out and about in the world. Jake the garden snake, and then we have this other channel called Gnome Nation. Sometimes I use a gnome as my little logo, or sometimes it's a snake. I don't know. Anyway, people get excited. Like, I saw some gnomes. They're at like all kinds of store, guys. Gnomes are not that uncommon, but he was real excited. He wanted to mail me some gnomes. So he did. Can you guys hear what this box sounds like? It doesn't sound good. So I told him I'd open it on camera. First one's not so bad. Look, it's only got a chip off of it. Orange one. We have an orange one. I think he thought my kids would want to paint them, and they actually will. They like doing stuff like that. What's the broken thing in here then? Something is shattered. Oh my God, yeah, something. Hey, you put candy in here. Yeah, something is absolutely just shattered in here. Let's see, let's get the stuff out that's not shattered. This is a gnome that's a tiki lamp. Candies in here. Ah, they're covered in like a porcelain dust. The kids will like these. Thanks, man. Oh, they like these pins. It's so covered in porcelain. I shouldn't breathe next to this. Oh God, there goes a piece. A little owl purse. He's met my kids, so this is a bunch of stuff they're gonna like. 2 of them, one's a llama. Okay, what it is that tiki thing. He sent 2 of them. One of them didn't make it. One of them's in pieces. It's absolutely destroyed. Thank you, BadFish. This is nice of you. But thank you. My kids will paint those. They'll think that's fun, and I'll go throw them in the flower bed. So anyways, I don't know if that's something that makes sense to you guys. Let me know if that's been all helpful. Again, I don't work for Suzuki. I'm not trying to sell you one of these things. But if you have any other questions about that, let me know what you think. Love to see you guys in my Discord. To get in that, again, join my Patreon or YouTube members. We do both. Thanks for being patient with me as my back feels awful as of late. Hopefully it gets better soon. Later, y'all.